असद्मासत् गमय तमसोम ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय शान्ति शान्ति ओम शान्ति ओम शान्ति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत् शान्ति ओम शान्ति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत् शान्ति ओम शान्ति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत्. Good morning all. A warm welcome to the one-day international seminar on human security and governance, prospects and challenges, organized by IQAC and Department of Political Science, Alipore College, and Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, IIHSG, New Delhi. We are immensely privileged to have here with us Hon'ble VC of Mahatma Gandhi University, Mohishadal, Purbo Medinipur, Dr. Subrata Kumar De. Can I request sir to come up on dais, please? We also have here Professor Dr. Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, former Registrar, Calcutta University. Sir, can you just come up to the dais? Now I request our principal sir, Dr. Joydeep Shorangi, to come up on the dais, please. Can I have Dr. Nandini Basistha, convener of the seminar and the honorary director of IIHSG, to come up with the dais too. We'll be now felicitating our dignitaries. And I request my students to help Principal Sir to assist. I request our Principal Sir to felicitate Dr. Subrata Kumar De, Hon'ble VC of Mahatma Gandhi University, Mohishadal, Purbo Medinipur. Thank you. Now, once again, I request our principal, Sir Dr. Joydeep Shorangi, to felicitate our guest of honor, Professor Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury. May I request our students to do the assist, sir? Now I'll request Dr. Nandini Basistha, convener of the seminar and honorary director of IIHSG, to felicitate our principal, Sir Dr. Joydeep Shorangi. Now I request our principal, Sir Dr. Joydeep Shorangi, to felicitate Dr. Nandini Basistha. Human security is not a new phenomenon. The earlier concept of security of individual and nation was rooted in the notion of sovereignty. The security of citizens was secured by promoting state or national security. It has been traditionally assumed that if a state is secure, its citizens are also secured. Basically, it's a trickle-down effect on the citizens. The Second World War and the subsequent deliberations in various UN-based conferences brought out the limitations of state or national sovereignty-based security, and need arises for protecting people's lives. During 1990s, especially as the Cold War ended, it became clear that the traditional concept of security was not enough to accommodate human welfare. It was realized that the human rights approach should be reinforced with developmental measures and security of the people across the globe. It was clearly understood that the people-centered security or human security is essential for national, regional, and global stability. What was needed? Basically, a multidimensional approach of security. In this context, the UNDP 1994 Human Development Report, acronymed as HDR 1994, was a milestone which highlighted the need for human security to fight global insecurities haunting people, especially the poor, marginalized, and the disadvantaged. The HDR 1994 has brought out convincingly the need for human security. The COVID situation, now the monkeypox, the dengue, and recently the swine flu have made it evident that human security is the most significant concern for the international system at present. It streamlined universal understanding of requirement of securitization of human security components like health, education, and economy. Now almost all governments worldwide are putting stress on three important components of human development as well as human security and trying to ensure freedom from want, freedom from fear, and freedom from indignity. Governance, on the other hand, is also a process through which collective good are generated, or the production is facilitated, so that all are better off than they would be acting individually. Thus, governance implies a concern by those who govern. Thus, human security is a human right, and governance ensures human rights through its key attributes, which includes transparency, responsibility, accountability, participation, and responsiveness to the needs of the people. This one-day international seminar on human rights and governance, challenges and prospects will analyze the role and functioning of the nation-state as well as actors like international organizations, multinational organizations, lobbies, think tanks, political parties, non-governmental organizations, community, media in securing human security goals. Furthermore, this seminar aims to create a network and support the international community of academicians, researchers, scholars, and scientists by promoting an exchange of the latest trends, development, and challenges in the field. Now, with this hope, we begin our conference seminar today. Now, I would request our principal sir to give the welcome address.
Good morning. It's a privilege that we are back in action, and possibly this is the first international seminar after the pandemic in this institution. We are really happy that we are hosting one-day international seminar in dual mode, blended mode in so-called academical terms. It's on human security and governance, challenges and prospects, involving threats, and how we manage our threats and we safeguard ourselves. Security in food, security in indignation, security to protect myself, security in the environmental sector, and many other issues which will be taken care of in today's dual mode seminar, as one of the conveners has already hinted at, Dr. Banerjee. We are really fortunate that IIHSG New Delhi has collaborated with us and given us an opportunity. Thank you, madam, who is present. Dr. Nandini Basistha, thank you so much. Your support has enriched us. We are really grateful that Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Mahishadal, Dr. Professor Subrata Kumar is here. Thank you, sir. And sir has come from Midnapur city to this, only for this conference. So, big round of applause for sir. He took a bumpy journey of 3 hours on road, Bombay Road, and reached us. Thank you, sir. We remain grateful to you. We are grateful to another very important person who was the Honorable Registrar of the University of Calcutta. And we all know Calcutta University made a milestone yesterday also in the field of research. Maximum number of research and patent by the University of Calcutta, the milestone was achieved and published yesterday. We are really grateful that we are a part of the University of Calcutta. Thank you, Professor Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, sir. Thank you for honoring us. And he is also a neighbor to us because he lives in Behala, not far away from this college. I thank the Department of Political Science of this college, Teachers Council, and IQAC for collaborating, joining hand in hand for this international seminar. I wish the seminar will be a great, great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'd request our chief guest, Dr. Subrata Kumar, Hon'ble VC, Mahatma Gandhi University, Mahishadal, Purva Medinipur, to deliver the chief guest address.
So, very good morning. Good morning to all. So, it is a very interesting topic the Institute covered in the seminar. In this juncture, on the dais, Professor Dr. Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, and he is the former Registrar of Calcutta University. He is present in front of the dais and present on the dais. The Principal, Dr. Joydeep Sarangi of this very college, and Madam Nandini Basistha. She is from Amity University, Mumbai. And the moderator, Subrata Banerjee, Dr. Subrata Banerjee, the resource person, my dear students, faculty members, and ladies and gentlemen. In this auspicious moment, I am appearing this international seminar. But I am from Life Science Division, no question about that. But the Political Science Department organizes this type of seminar. And it is a part of social science. And the student profile, teaching section, they are eagerly waiting to know few words, few questions, few answers from this juncture, from this seminar. But in what way I can appreciate you? That seminar, this international seminar, gives some flavor in this moment. Just I start like this way. Life is everywhere. Because I am a person of life science, I start like this way and come into human security. Life is everywhere. Air, terrestrial mode, surface water, groundwater. So life is everywhere. You are focusing the human beings, especially the human beings. But I don't focus the human only. The diversity. I mentioned the diversity of life. Their security is needed. And that things is omitted. Why not? This part. My first question is this. But it is a one-day seminar. I don't elaborate like this way. I mention life in a single cell. Its security is essential. Life in multidimensional structure of a cell. Cell is our unit of life. Security is there. It is a long journey. I designated this journey is the matter of evolution. Because I nurtured this point from this dimension, the security and governance. Then single life to multi-cellular life. Our body, long journey. Selection, then selection. Nature, select. Successful material accepted, successful cell accepted. Quote unquote Darwin, natural selection. Nature select. Nature, this selection procedure always present in a nature. It is also true. Then, this long journey, the human or the animal kingdom shifted one mode to another mode. Change of life pattern, function. That is important. Why I mention this? Paradigm shift. The structure, function, physiology, the action, selection, everything is there within this, that. Then after what happens? The multicellular organism form the specific structure and our body system. I just blending the living system and non-living system, the life science system and the social science system, because it is a part of IQAC. How the social science section interact with life science section, this is a liaison need. And in such type of college, they need it. So I focus it, this very point. In what way life science shift to social science? So, our structure when it is formed, it needs security. It needs security. Our organ needs security. Our body needs security. You pay the fund to life insurance for your security. We specifically put some mediclaim for organ system. It is our security. So here the human security is focused. And you justify it. We are talking about human, not human. A single cell needs security in a total animal kingdom and in human also. And in our organ system, all sorts of cell need security. Otherwise, transplantation is not successful in nature. Not successful. Transplantation of liver, heart, kidney, like this type of structure, because although it is quite superficial, I say, because I am a life science person, I just correlate this thing. Simply, I correlate these things. The security needs justice. From where? From such platform. The security of special, all type of animals needs justice. And just quote unquote, I go through few papers, I don't mention. But here, just United Assembly, in its General Assembly, 66/290 resolution for particular human case, human security is an approach to assist member states in identifying and addressing widespread and cross-cutting challenges to the survival, livelihood, and dignity of their people. Here, the United General Assembly 66/290 resolution. And human needs the security from economic security. The animal need in a nature economic security. For that purpose, the protections, laws, dialogues are appearing in a nature. And the resource person raised some question regarding this security. And this question are too pertinent, and the resource person answered this question in a very lucid manner. A particular issue, but security don't cover the boundary. It's from state to nation to international. So transboundary. So from my perception, from my vision, security needs total animal kingdom, total living creature. And this profile, this interaction gives some enormous feedback from your juncture, from the resource person's point of view, and the student's point of view. And it is a fruitful seminar, I think so. Just after pandemic, you are accepting such type of challenge in a particular Calcutta-based university, that is Alipore, New Alipore University. I congratulate Principal, Dr. Serengi, and the total audience for their kind presence. And they when the seminar is take off in a new flow, the resource person raised some questions and the students interact, but question must be specific. And the total topic covers so many things. You just fix up some questions. The 10 resource person is there, and when our brain cells are fatigued, we are not able to accept all sorts kind of action. So your limitation is there, stress is there. You accept all kind of activity, and it's give a enormous mileage in this juncture. Thank you all for your patience hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I believe this is the beauty of interdisciplinary studies. How he gelled life science with social science, and security became a common thing. Human security from cells to human security of our body. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, to give his address.
Thank you, Dr. Somdota Bandaji, for calling me here. I see on the dais Professor Joydeep Sarangi, the principal, and I was into his office a few minutes back. I can say that he's a wonderful person, he's a great host, and I'm very happy to see my former student, now a colleague, Dr. Nandini Basistha. I still remember Nandini. She was one of the first batch of our MA students. She was front runner. She stood first in the class. And she was from political science and history background. But when I started teaching human security at some higher level of studies involving complicated mathematics, she got interested, and I'm happy to notice that she got so much interested on the subject. She has developed an institute of her own and organized a brilliant global seminar a few months back. I'm very happy and honored to share the dais with Dr. Subrata Kumar, Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, a great scholar. He has already introduced himself as a great scholar. You have heard him speaking about the interactions between man and nature. Here we talk about the human security, and he talks not only about human security, but talks security of all living beings on the earth. We need to have some kind of mechanism where we have our thinking process not only extended from ourselves to family, to society, to the country, to the globe, and to the whole man and animal kingdom. I'm very happy to hear that he has stressed the need for man and environment interactions, and you know that the way we are forgetting environment and disasters that is coming to us, you know that because we forget environment. So I'm very thankful to Professor Subrata Kumar for his wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that when I come to this college, I was asked to come to this college several times before. As I was introduced the Registrar of the university, I was called by many people here to come here. And you know, I could not come because of my busy schedule that time. But I must say that to me this visit is a pilgrimage, in the sense that many of my seniors in the family and fraternity, they either studied here or they have taught here. So it's my pilgrimage. And when I landed to this college, I was excited to see their infrastructure. They're very well-behaved and disciplined students. So I must say that this college is in a position to compare any of the brilliant institutes of the country. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about human security, and many experts will be coming and addressing many of the findings of new researches will be presented before you. But you know that as a speaker in the plenary session, so that whole exercises in the international relations field was on strategic studies, how to build up enough amount of protection for yourself so that you are protected from the other invaders and your enemies, right? And we have been, and know that as residents of India, as citizens of India, we have been told that we have a permanent enemy called Pakistan and a new enemy called China, and we have to have enough amount of war materials and ammunition so that, know that even if we don't fight, we know that we tell them that we are powerful enough, we have strength enough that you have to be careful. We have realized that strength begets strength unless you are able to exhibit that you are strong and all that, you lose the game. Anyway, that is not the whole purpose. Human security came in because a large number of the people was bypassed by the process of economic development. Right. You know that we have seen that the economic growth took place, massive economic growth, the rich people become richer. But at the same time, we have noticed that a large number of people, they could not get the minimum life securities of life, the minimum necessities of life, not to talk about healthcare and other requirements of life. Yeah, I'm very thankful to Subrata Kumar introduced to you the concepts of human development. It was, that in 1990 report, they first talked about that we have to think in terms of education, because that makes a man different from other animals, and education transforms a man. So the years of schooling is very important, and your skill formation is very important, and that is how you can establish yourself in life, right? And your education, your skill formation, that ensure your marketability, that employability, etc. The Human Development Report also made us understand that health is very important. We cannot ignore health, right? And that they used life expectancy, as a proxy parameters, and we also know that important is your job. Whether you have a job, you have income, because income is a passport through which you can buy things for survival, right? And human development indices have been prepared, that since 1990, and many countries are going ahead in the index, right? But you see that, I would like to say that although Human Development Index is very important, we have to ensure that we have enough education to all people. We have to have enough healthcare facilities. We have to have, enough scope for employment. All right, we all understand that these are important, right? And that many acts have been established. I'm thankful to Professor. He talked about the United Nations General Assembly resolutions. He talked about that and all that. United Nations told us that it is very important that we have act. Yes, we have Food Security Act. Right, we have Food Security Act in this country, and where it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that everybody gets food. I really cannot say that whether there is anybody who is starving in this country. But ladies and gentlemen, we have seen COVID-19, which came to India in a massive way, right? Millions of people got affected, right? And some people might say that many people died, etc. But died, yes, of course, they died out of the diseases, out of the infection. But there are people dying out of starvation because they lost job. It's not much. It's not at all there, right? Because the government provided enough food care securities, right? It was responsibility of the government given by the Food Security Act, that which was enforced in 2011, and government provided enough mechanism. We did not see any riot, any food riot in the country. It's a country of 1 billion people. It's a country of 1 billion people, and the disease is persisted for several years. It persists even today. But the government, because of the awareness, they provided food security, right? And we did not see any food riot. I must say that this is a good indicator that government government realized the importance that food is important, and government provided, government acted on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I also must say that India is one of the countries, which has gone for a massive universal immunization program, right? We have 2 billion plus, 2 billion people who got vaccinated. Almost 70% of the country's population got vaccinated. So health security, which is very important, and we are happy, that we cannot simply talk academically that health security is important, government has to provide these and that. But we are happy that our government was able to provide health securities. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Russia, I talk about Russia because that it is waging a war into another country, right? I don't want to get into the reason, but that you see the Soviet Union, which has developed its own vaccination. But ladies and gentlemen, I must say that only 50% population in Russia is vaccinated, whereas in India it is 70%. We must be proud. We must be proud that we are able to vaccinate such a large number of people. We are happy that when you talk about human security, it is not a simple academic exercise. We have been able to convince, or rather our government was convinced that health security is important. And ladies and gentlemen, if 200 billion people, 2 billion people were not vaccinated, you could imagine the rages of COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, whether we would have been able to hold this conference, I really do not know. I suffered from COVID-19 3 to 4 times, but that because of the vaccines, probably that disease could not proceed further in my system. So thanks to the government, thanks to the awareness that academicians in the field have been able to create. Ladies and gentlemen, I must refer to 2 other countries currently in war. One is Ukraine. Ukraine, because of the war, that it's not been able to concentrate much on vaccinations. So only 40% people are vaccinated in Ukraine. And see another country called Afghanistan. Another country called Afghanistan, where only 28% people are vaccinated. Right. So as an Indian, I feel proud and I feel excited that the government should realize the importance of food security and health security. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you one more thing, and in my presentation, you have seen the Sri Lankan crisis. Sri Lanka is much ahead of India in so-called Human Development Index, right? Much ahead. Because that in Sri Lanka, school enrollment rate, educational enrollment is much higher. Women are empowered, right? And healthcare is better. They have a much higher life expectancy than we Indians have. And that their per capita income is higher than that of us. They are on a higher scale. But ladies and gentlemen, they suffered. That for you, I did not explain what happened to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka suffered enormously, despite the fact that they are on a much higher scale on Human Development Index. But you see the wrong policies of becoming dependent on foreign loan, and particular foreign loan from the country, that put that country into a grave crisis. Right, Sri Lanka, ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka, they accumulated the international debt of $36 billion. And there is current, that foreign exchange reserve is almost 50,000 dollars. It does not have money. It doesn't have money to pay for any of the import bills, right? And they need at least $7 billion. But ladies and gentlemen, the message to us that human security is important. But in the name of, in the name of human security, if you use the money for freebies, which Sri Lankan government did. Sri Lankan government was not, that looking into the economics of things, and that the prices of several government administered products are much lower than what should have been their normal prices. They know that they supplied oil at much cheaper rate than the market value. When as a result they accumulated huge amount of international deficit, and they have no money to pay for. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to take your time, but just a little warning that many of the Indian states are accumulating huge debt. Huge debt. Sri Lanka has a population of 2 crore. And if you just compare Sri Lanka with West Bengal, we have 10 crore population. And West Bengal government, that outstanding debt is around 6 lakh crore rupees. Converted into dollars, it becomes double the amount of the loan Sri Lankan government have. Right? In many states, I don't talk about West Bengal, and many other states have accumulated similar amount of deficits. Creating a potential for a situation very similar to Sri Lanka. So, yes, we say human security is important, right? Which means that government has to ensure that whenever food is needed, in a times of emergency, in a times of catastrophe, government would provide. We suggest that government would provide that health care when people are not in a position to buy them, right? But if the government decides to spend money in a way, that which Sri Lankan government did and many other countries did, a serious crisis might be waiting for us. I won't take your time. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I thank you all who have come here to listen to the presentation of the serious scholars who will be coming. I'm sure that you have come here to learn, and that is the whole purpose. And learning and thinking. If you think that you only learn and do not allow your thinking process to proceed further, then there is not much gain from the learning process. So I hope and pray that the seminar, which is an international seminar, and we have experts like Nandini Basistha and many others are coming. And I do hope that you gather sufficient knowledge and then allow your own thinking process to see that how, that if you think that we need to have a different kind of mechanism for human security, that, or what we should do. We should leave it to the market, or that we provide human security, that for only a small section of the population. But at the same time, that it's very important that we don't ignore our environment. Professor has wonderfully explained to you, that they may not be able to demand. Our plants and animals, that they may not be able to demand security for them, and we have to speak for them. I'm very happy that Professor has spoken out his heart in favor of the plant and animals who cannot demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been always illuminating to hear from you. Thank you, giving us a holistic view of human security approach. Now may I request Dr. Nandini Basistha, convener of the seminar and the honorary director of IIHSG and assistant professor, Amity University of Liberal Arts, Amity University, Mumbai, to give a keynote address.
Honorable Professor Subrata Kumar, Dr. Joydev Sharangi, Principal Sir, and my teacher, Professor Gopal Dhar Choudhury, respected faculties, dear scholars and students. A very good morning to all of you. It's really a privilege to organize our first offline event here, because I was skeptical that whether we can manage all these things in Kolkata, because I live at Mumbai and office of IIHSG at Delhi. But hats off to the organizing team for managing so well. When I'm coming to dais, Subrata said only 2 minutes, but I want to say, because the topic is human security and governance, and already our previous speakers touched various issues which is related to that. But as a keynote speaker, I think I should focus on the main theme of the conference. Already Subrata in her first speech told about the concept of human security, but how IIHSG see the topic, I think I should share with all of you present here. This is the 4th conference which we are organizing on human security. Many people say, like, think about some new topic. Why human security? Why again and again human security? And why you are adding the topic governance with it? If I ask you, what are the 3 most important cases of last 3 years, what you will say? According to my view, there Ukraine-Russia war, obviously COVID-19 pandemic, and recently Sri Lankan crisis. If you see the genre of these problems, you will understand that only state-centric security cannot secure or cannot solve all these problems. There are health problems, there are many other issues which we should touch to solve day-to-day problems. That's why we have started to think about people-centric security. But this is not a new concept. From 1982, various organizations and international bodies are talking about people-centric security. If I say about post-Cold War issues, you will understand that the most important thing or the most important paradigm shift which we saw in post-Cold War period, that is the emergence of internal problems or internal security issues, or in other words, state versus community conflict. To solve this problem, various new theories came out. One theory I worked on in my postdoctoral study, that is called Development Security Nexus as a conflict management tool. Many theorists like Mark Duffield, David Chandler started saying that through securing human development and human security, we can manage internal conflict situations. Big donor agencies like UN, EU, DFID became more and more eager to use this human development plus human security model as a new age conflict management tool. But we saw that in the shadow of individual welfare, aid industries are booming and successfully establishing interventionist policies. Hence, to stop its interventionist tag, we need to use more this policy in indigenous way, unlike the Western world in countries like Liberia, Sudan, Afghanistan and Haiti. Already worldwide, people are doing that. In my postdoctoral study, I tried to see how Indian government is trying to do it in Northeast India. However, IIHS is the first forum where we dedicate a whole seminar to talk about indigenous problem of human security, prepare localized version of human security concept as well as tool to secure that. We are academicians, we are most important part of civil society. I think it is our responsibility to arrange more and more dialogue on this. When I established IIHSG and started calling people to speak in a seminar on human security, many of them were unaware about the concept. Many of them read UNDP concept of human security to speak on this subject. But after the first conference in 2020, if you see abstracts of the second and third conference of IIHSG in 21 and 22, you will see how scholars of whole world are discussing localized issues in indigenous manner. I think that is the success of IIHSG, that we are somehow compelling people to think, listen about human security for 2-3 consecutive days. If you ask why we are adding the word governance with human security while good governance is part of concept itself, I want to say good governance, which involves conversations and collaboration between governments, institutions and people, is not only the matter of national government, but also encompasses all governing bodies, including nation state as well as non-governmental organizations like international organizations, MNCs, and civil society organizations. Thus, human security is a human right concept, and governance ensures human rights through its key attributes like transparency, responsibility, accountability, participation, and responsiveness to the needs of the people. It gives space and priority to every individual and focus on 3 aspects of security, which are freedom from want, freedom from fear, and freedom to live in dignity. Furthermore, we are trying to create a network and support the international community of academicians, researchers by promoting an exchange of the latest trends, developments, and challenges in the field. Although our institute is interdisciplinary, but the topic is multidisciplinary, where doctors from Russia like Soham, physicists from Ukraine, pharmacologists from Nigeria, Buddhist monk from Sri Lanka, along with another 4,000 scholars from worldwide joined together in one forum for open dialogue. Even some topics are very controversial and touchy. We allow them to publish in our booklet, website and books, as IIHSG is a democratic forum. I hope in future we will organize more dialogue on this utmost important topic, and you all will join with us physically or virtually to bolster our initiative. I'm not taking much time. Thank you for patience listening. Thank you, New Alipore College. Thank you all. Namaskar.
As per the program schedule, now we are supposed to have our concluding remarks and vote of thanks. But before that, we'll be having a photo session for the book releases because this is a paucity of time. And for that photo session, may I request Dr. Amrita Banerjee, Assistant Professor, Bidhan Chandra College, Asansol, who is one of the editors, to come up on the dais. May I request our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Dhrubajyoti Banerjee, and our very own HOD, Head of the Department, Political Science, Dr. Madhupurna Datta, to come on the dais, please. Can I have the other?
Thank you, Dr. Banerjee. Respected dignitaries on the stage and all ladies and gentlemen and students present here today, a very good afternoon. I, Dr. Madhupurna Datta, from the Department of Political Science, am indeed honored to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of my college today. We had been planning this particular seminar on various traditional and non-traditional components of human security for a very long time, especially keeping in mind the context of the pandemic. And it is our immense good fortune that IIHSG, Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, one of the most reputed think tanks in this field, happily agreed to collaborate with us in our efforts. We are indeed happy and grateful to us for the successful beginning of our day-long seminar today on human security and governance, challenges and prospects. At the end of the inaugural session, we express our deepest gratitude to our chief guest today, who is none other than Dr. Subrata Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi University, Mohishadol, Purbo Medinipur, and our guest of honor, Dr. Gopal Dhar Choudhury, Professor, Department of South and Southeast Asian Studies, Calcutta University, for sparing their valuable time for us and gracing this function. Dr. Dey's insights into the various aspects of human security, being a person of life science, was very interesting and added a new perspective to the entire subject. Our sincere thanks to Professor Dhar Choudhury for such an enriching and thought-provoking and holistic coverage of the topic. Sir, we indeed learned a lot from your talk today, and you gave us much food for thought. A big thank you to our beloved Principal Sir, Dr. Joydeep Sharangi, without whose unstinted support and enthusiasm we wouldn't dare to organize an event of such a scale. Heartfelt thanks to you, sir, not only for your words of wisdom, but also for being always there with us, leading, guiding, and motivating us in every endeavor of ours. Our deepest appreciation for Dr. Nandini Basistha, Executive Director, Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, and Senior Assistant Professor, Amity University, Mumbai, for consenting to deliver the keynote address. She is not very well today, as far as I know, but she made such an excellent and meaningful presentation for our listeners. A big thank you to each and every member of the audience for your unwavering attention throughout the session. I'm sure this session must have piqued your interest by this time, and we are lined up for a very exciting exchange of ideas in the following 2 sessions. With this, we come to the end of our inaugural session. We will now move on to the book release session in a couple of minutes. We request the audience to remain seated, and tea will be served within the hall itself.
Mutual understanding between the students' fraternity and the teachers, between the non-teaching fraternity and the students. We are committed to service. এবং আমাদের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা যারা এই কলেজের অতীতে পড়েছেন, তারা দেশ বিদেশের বিভিন্ন জায়গায় সুপ্রতিষ্ঠিত। Some have become good journalists, some have earned reputation as a scientist, as doctors, engineers, administrative staff, and great political leaders of the state and the nation. New Alipore College has a vision: include, ignite, innovate. We include
and Associate Professor, Department of English, Dr. Dhrubajyoti Banerjee, to come up on the dais. He'll be the chair of this session.
Good afternoon and welcome to the second session of the one-day international seminar on human security and governance, challenges and prospects, being organized by the IQAC, Department of Political Science, New Alipore College, Kolkata, and the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance. At the outset, let me point out that I am a student of literature and not a student of social sciences, and I would try and look at this problem of security from my perspective, very briefly though. For me, human security is one of the most problematic concepts and cannot be appreciated without referring to its obverse, which is the concept of threat. And this concept of threat can be, understood in the microscopic and in the interstellar aspects. Popular astronomy pages on social media talk of the pale blue dot, which was how Carl Sagan had designated our Earth, as spinning and traveling at a tremendous speed amidst a maze of asteroids, comets, most of whose trajectories and paths we know nothing about. And the moment we try and look at it, our sense of security is just gone. At the micro level, Sir has talked about how even unicellular organisms need a sense of security. But I would like to look at it from the economic aspect. And the moment we switch on our televisions and we are bombarded with these advertisements on mutual funds, and what do they talk about? They talk about risk meters. And these risks, they never talk about an absence of a risk. They talk about medium risk, high risk, very high risk, and so on and so forth. One of the seminal novelists, writer, and thinkers of contemporary times, Amitav Ghosh, had pointed out in one of his famous non-fiction essays, The Greatest Sorrow, Times of Joy Recalled in Wretchedness, that everyday life would be impossible if we did not have a certain faith in a secure future. But, ironically, future is truly inscrutable and unpredictable. We academicians try and look at security in many ways, and the conferences of the IIHSG and conferences like the ones that we are hosting today look at these issues in many interesting ways. A 17th century British poet called John Donne, in one of his famous love poems, had talked about transforming one little room into an everywhere. The exact line is, one little room and everywhere. I believe that is very true of our conference today. As many from all over the world, electronically, physically, have joined in order to talk about human security, governance, threats, and the related concepts. I'm very happy to be hosting this particular session, as it celebrates academicians, it celebrates research work, it celebrates intensive thinking on issues concerning human security, governance, challenges, and prospects. We have with us in the audience Professor Dr. Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, Registrar, formerly Registrar of the University of Calcutta and Professor of the Department of South and Southeast Asian Studies of Calcutta University. I would request Sir, if Sir could please come up on stage all over again and do the honors of releasing certain books with us. Sir, could we have you on stage, please? 3 books are to be released today. One entitled Women, Security and Governance. The other entitled Changing Dimensions of Human Security and Governance. Sir, could you please have a seat? I'll just... and the third is Different Dimensions of Human Security and Governance. I am told that we have all 3 editors with us. Dr. Amrita Banerjee, editor of Women, Security and Governance, is with us in this hall. I would request Amrita Madam to please come up and join us on stage. Could we have a round of applause for Amrita Madam? We are joined online by Dr. Rajkumari Meena. Ma'am, could you please come up on stage and join Sir? We are also joined by Dr. Rajkumari Meena, who who has edited Changing Dimensions of Human Security and Governance, and Imran Ahmed Khan, who has edited Different Dimensions of Human Security and Governance. Imran and Rajkumari are joining us online. We would hear from all of them, but just a word of introduction. These books contain Best Paper Award-winning articles presented at the IIHSG International Conference 2022 on Human Security and Governance, organized by the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, Delhi, India, in collaboration with Amity Institute of Liberal Arts, Amity University, Mumbai, Center for Conflict Studies, Middlebury Institute of International Studies, Monterey, California, USA, Security Women, United Kingdom, Department of International Relations, Central University of Jharkhand, India, Department of Defense and Strategic Studies, Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, India, and the Department of International Relations, University of Chittagong, Bangladesh. Indeed, as we have said, one little room and everywhere. The entire world has come together to talk about and ensure human security. After all, our future depends on it. We have had, in the earlier session, we have had a photo session with this particular book, Women, Security and Governance. So I would now, so do we have another photo opportunity with this book? Anyway, if sir and ma'am can do the honors all over again, and if we could have 2 more copies of Women, Security and Governance, then we could formally release this book all over again. Could we have a big round of applause for the editor and all the contributors of this volume? Thank you. We now move on to the second book, that is Changing Dimensions of Human Security and Governance, edited by Rajkumari Meena. This is also a collection of essays presented at that conference. A big round of applause for all the contributors and the editor. Thank you, sir. The third book to be released today is edited by Imran Ahmed Khan, and this is Different Dimensions of Human Security and Governance. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I would now invite Dr. Amrita Banerjee, Assistant Professor, Bidhan Chandra College, Asansol, which is affiliated to the Kazi Nazrul University, West Bengal, to deliver her special address as the editor. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Firstly, a very good afternoon to all. I'm really glad and excited to be here today. What I just want to start by thanking the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security, New Delhi, New Alipore College, Kolkata, the IQAC, and all the organizing members, especially to Dr. Nandini Basistha ma'am, for organizing such back-to-back webinar as well as the international seminar after the pandemic. Now, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury sir to be here present and for launching the book. Now I'm going to speak about the book the women's security and the governance. Now, this book, which is an outcome of collective research work, which has been done by various researchers, which fills a kind of a gap, growing field of gender and women's security, which builds a kind of a corpus of approaches that will shape future interventions, the policy advocacy, and the programmatic. We are now, we all know, are passing by the 75th years of independence, where till now the women's community of the society, they are still fighting for their birthright, for better nourishment, right to educations. We all know that educations is our right. But if you visit to certain villages, the rural areas, there are certain individuals, the students over there, they don't think it's their right. Right to education, they think it to be, those who have been granted the education, they think it's their privilege. But they don't know that it is their right. Now, right to liberations and so on. So, though we all know that in the preamble of the Indian Constitution, which has been enacted on the 26th of January 1950, it has a kind of resolve to secure to all the citizens the justice, the social, economic, political liberty of thought expressions, of belief, of faith and worship, where equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote amongst them all fraternity, assuming the dignity of the individual. But we the women have remained mostly away from the light, excepting few blessed one like us. Now it is a kind of shame that, even today, we have to fight for the birthright of a girl child, right for the educations, expression, the right of equality, which is far beyond the questions, and the women, they tend to kind of suffer the human right abuses in a gender-specific way, which has often been ignored. There was a reluctance on many fronts to treat the women's community, the rights, and as well as the human rights as a whole. Now, I will take up that what Tulsidas said, his verse from Ramayana. He said that Dhol, Sudra, Pashu, Nari, ye sab nindan ke adhikari. So it's kind of, which highlights a kind of a discriminations, and which is deep-rooted gender bias, which still exists in all the sector on the basis of the caste, community, religious affiliations, and definitely the class. Every day there are cases of gang rape, brutal murder, protest, demonstrations. We blame a woman herself for being out late for a night. Now, why the girl is wearing a kind of a revealing dress? Now, for being a male company and so on. The list is basically endless. Now, the crucial and the serious obstructions regarding the above mentioned matters are basically deep-rooted gendered biasness that exist in our society. And what we forget is that men and women, both are somewhere or other complementary parts of a humankind and as a whole. So, like, even if the socio-economic improvement is made, removal of cultural hegemony over women might need far more long time to reach. And if we talk about the laws, now yes, definitely countless laws are there present, which reflects lots of things, but in action, it's very bleak. Now, all the illegal practices the crimes which are being committed against the human being and specifically against the women sections of the society. It is not only a question of inequality, economic inequality, the social justice, but it is also a kind of tarnishing ethical and moral values. Now this volume of this book, it has got interesting contributions from number of academicians, intellectuals, researchers, and important personalities of the society. While addressing the relevant issues, the contributors, they have in their own way, they have enriched the existing literature available on its important issues of the women's security and governance. And hence, in this sense, the articles are diverse in convergence and analysis. For example, you all will be getting the chapters on property right for Hindu women, cyber crimes against women in India, variations on gender security, human security, not only on Indian perspective, but also on Mongolia, terrorism, food security, and so on. So I express my sincere thanks, firstly, to all the contributors for their valuable papers in spite of their other pressing academic engagements. Now, I express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Juliet Coleman, who has gone out of her way to painstakingly read the manuscripts and wrote the foreword for the book. And I extend my gratefulness to Dr. Nandini Basistha for her continuous advice, guidance, and she always do take her time out from her busy schedule to, write the prologue for the book, and she is a kind of encouragement to all the, I think, for all the newly found research scholars. So last but not the least, I would also like to thank the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, New Delhi, for publishing the book, because otherwise this would have not seen the light of the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am has talked about the contributors and what they have done for the book, but she has not talked about herself, so let me do that. Dr. Amrita Banerjee got her PhD in International Relations from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, and is presently Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Bidhan Chandra College, Asansol, under Kazi Nazrul University, West Bengal. Her research area is South Asia, human rights and gender, and she has done wide-ranging research on non-conventional security issues, especially on trafficking of women and children, and has experience of about 8 years. Dr. Amrita Banerjee received award and recognition not only in the field of academics, but she has always excelled in sports and was a university blue in basketball games and the university captain at Jadavpur University, Kolkata. She has played for the National Basketball Championships and also received the Youth Award for Social Initiatives in 2004-2005 for AIDS Prevention and Control Society, Government of West Bengal, India. She acted as the teacher in charge of Vivekananda College for Women for organizing district-level youth parliament competitions for the year 2012-2013, where under her guidance, the students got the first position. She represented West Bengal state several times at the National Integration Programs, National Youth Festivals held by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. Dr. Amrita very presently received prestigious performance award as a teacher on Teachers' Day in 2020 from the Minister of Public Work and Youth Services and Sports of West Bengal. I would now request Sir to please formally felicitate Dr. Amrita Banerjee, who is the editor of the book Women, Security and Governance, published by the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance. Our student will assist sir in doing the honors. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm afraid our two other editors are joining us online, so we would have to skip the formal felicitation. So they are all very warmly welcome. We have with us Dr. Rajkumari Meena. I can see ma'am here. Welcome to the program, ma'am. Let me just read out the brief bio note before I invite ma'am to make her presentation. Dr. Rajkumari Meena is working as Senior Fellow at the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, New Delhi. Previously, she was Senior Research Fellow at the Department of Psychology, University of Delhi, India. Lecturer and Student Welfare Officer at National Institute of Medical Sciences, Jaipur, Rajasthan. Child Psychologist in Municipal Corporation School, Delhi. Child Psychologist in various Kendriya Vidyalayas. Trainee Clinical Psychologist in Central Railway Hospital, New Delhi. She has received the Best Paper Award at the two-day IIHSG Conference of 2021 on Gender Security and Global Politics held in February 2021. She has also been awarded the UGC National Fellowship for Higher Education, NFHE, for pursuing MPhil PhD. She has received a PhD from the University of Psychology, from the Department of Psychology, I beg your pardon, University of Delhi, on a comparative study of physical, mental, psychological stress among elderly population in India and Nepal. Her MPhil work was on lifelong learning extension, a study of stress management of the elderly population in old age homes in India, from the Department of Adult Continuing Education and Extension, University of Delhi. She also has an MS in Psychotherapy from IPMS Mumbai and International Diploma in Guidance Counseling from NCERT, New Delhi. Her research interests include stress among the elderly household and old age homes in India. Dr. Rajkumari Meena is the editor of Changing Dimensions of Human Security and Governance, this particular book, which has also been published by the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance. I would now invite ma'am to please make a brief presentation on her book.
For working towards removing security across the world are also greater now than the before. There has also been a massive increase in the role of civil society of community commissioner further. Security concerns the changing political and strategic scenario, brought attention intellectual, academics, policy makers, etc. The story of security concerns no longer restriction on information, but it depends on what, on views and object relations, major relation, the reference, object security, and function across the security. Women are still fighting for their birthright, right for betterment, husband, religion to education, right to liberty, and so on. It has been found that in India, it has men and not women also come forward to improve the miserable social condition of women during the 1819, first half of 20th century. After the Second World War formed the Commonwealth nation played a pivotal gender equality around the world. Each contributed to international contact of various solution, reaching number, different revolution, the governance of India's also constitution and status committee headed by Dr. Prof who looked real picture of socio-economic state of the girls. The law was aimed in 1986 to stop the trafficking immunal on the India panel against the evil sting on of women. This book addressing certain existing issues related to all the security concerns of and its governance a diversity of context while addressing this women's security cannot be accomplished without placing women center of policy agenda. This is an outcome of collective research work done by various researchers fill a gap in the growing field of gender and women security, which boldly incorporate approach that will save further future intervention policy adoption programs. This volume has interesting contribution from a number of academic scholars, intellectual and important personally society. I sincere thank all to contribute for the valuable paper in presenting I my gratitude of Professor Alam, Department of University of Bangladesh, who has gone out of it national for this. And my professor extremely much extend my
So we will make a slight adjustment in our session today. We have another speaker, and Dr. Meena also couldn't finish her comments, so we'll come back to them online in a minute when our internet connection is restored. For the moment, I hand over the proceedings to Dr. Somdatta Banerjee, and I think we will move on with the prize distribution part of this session, which is the Best Paper Award prize distribution. So I hand over this part of the session to the organizers. And we'll come back to the speeches as soon as the internet gets restored. Thank you very much.
For the prize distribution ceremony, I'll ask my colleague, Professor Debarati Mondol, to host the program.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon all present here. As we can see that there is a technical glitch. We are extremely sorry for that. Well, I'm here to present you a very important section of this program, that is the distribution of Best Paper Awards. We'll be awarding today 57 winners who have contributed on human security in recent times. They have given quite a few marvelous and thought-provoking articles in various books that we have seen that has been released. Few of them couldn't join us physically. They are, I guess, they are in a virtual mode. And there are 20 to 25 winners who are present here with us. So we'll be giving the awards today to those winners. For this, I would request our guest of honor of the day, Dr. Professor Raja Gopal Dhar Choudhury, the former Registrar, Calcutta University, and the Professor of the Department of South and Southeast Asian Studies, Calcutta University. So, sir, with your permission, I will start. So to begin with, I'll request research scholar Bobby Narayan from Rabindranath Tagore University, Madhya Pradesh, for the Best Paper Award, paper titled Good Governance Through Skill Development and its Success Rate with Respect to Employment and Income Generation. Research scholar Bobby Narayan. And I will request our students to assist. So, now I would like to request PhD scholar Dipankar De, Central University of Jharkhand, paper titled Human Trafficking and Organized Crime in India, a Critical Assessment of Human Rights Violation. Now, I may call upon another research scholar, Mr. Dipanjana Haldar Mojumdar, Jadavpur University, West Bengal, paper titled Rethinking the War on Terror and Global Anti-Terror Initiative, the Evolution of Human Security. Now we have Dr. Amrita Banerjee. We have already handed over the award to her. So I next move on to Dr. Madhuparna Datta, HOD and Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, New Alipore College, Kolkata. The paper titled Studying the Gender, Water Security Linkages, a South Asian Perspective. Now, can we have Dr. Saroj Gupta, lecturer, Bibhuti Narayan Government Inter College, Gyanpur, Uttar Pradesh. Paper titled Women Rights in India with special reference to legal framework and policy issues. Okay, I guess she is not here. Okay. No. There was miscommunication. Next, can we have a student from National Law University, Orissa, Priyadarshini Goenka. Her paper titled New Threats for Human Security in Recent Trends. Oh. Is she there? I guess no, she's not here. Then I'll call upon PhD scholar Sharmita Ghosh from Amity University, Mumbai. Human security and the effects of education during the pandemic. Next, we have the Best Paper Award winner is Dr. Somdatta Banerjee, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, New Alipore College, Kolkata. Paper titled A Pandemic Within the Pandemic, Gender-Related Violence in India. Now the award goes to Dr. Amurtha Shah, Assistant Professor, Department of Journalism, New Alipore College, Kolkata. Paper titled Cyber Security Awareness of Students Pursuing Higher Education, a Case Study Survey. Then we have a student from Bardhaman Mahavidyalaya, Shidhu Kanu Birsa University, West Bengal, Kaushik Sen. Paper titled Life and Work of a Great Indian Environmentalist, Sundarlal. No, it's not Sundar. It's Salamudra Tikamara. Okay. Acha. Professor Gauri Shankar Nag will receive Kaushik on behalf of Kaushik Sen. Next, we have a research scholar Renuka Shyam Narayan from Indira Gandhi National Open University. Paper titled Interdisciplinary Approach in Study of
Recording
Education,
in progress.
Governance and Social Theory. Research scholar Shobhik Chatterjee from Central University of Jharkhand, paper titled The Challenges of Human Security in Mongolia. Now, the award goes to Dr. Vibhuti Bhushan Bishash, Assistant Professor, Central University of Jharkhand, paper titled Human Trafficking and Organized Crime in India, a Critical Assessment of Human Rights Violation. Then we have Dr. G.G. Paul S., Assistant Professor, Mars Dianoso College, Panjin, Kerala. Paper titled Pak-Sponsored Militancy Destroying the Beauty of Kashmir. Now, we have another student in the awardee, Twinkle Singhal from Amity School of Applied Sciences, Gurgaon. Paper titled Human Security and Governance. Last but not least, Dr. Professor Shubarna Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Amity Institute of Social Science, Kolkata. Paper titled Black Power Movement in Prelude to African American Resistance Poetry. By this, we are coming to an end of this prize distribution ceremony. So, can we move on to the next part?
So, if the internet connection has been restored, then we can move on. I'm sure we have with us Imran Ahmed Khan. Do we have Imran Ahmed Khan? I can't see him on the screen. Hello. Yes, yes. So Imran Ahmed Khan joins us online. Imran Ahmed Khan is academic counselor at Indira Gandhi National Open University, Srinagar, and guest faculty in Government Degree College of Cluster University, Srinagar. He is a doctoral fellow at the Department of Political Science, University of Kashmir, Srinagar. He is receiving the Maulana Azad National Fellowship for Minority Students, UGC, as Senior Research Fellow. He has completed Masters in Political Science and MPhil in Local Governance from the University of Kashmir, and he has also cleared the UGC NET. In 2014, he has worked as field investigator of Center for Study of Developing Societies to conduct election surveys in Jammu and Kashmir, sponsored by the Indian Council for Social Science Research and IBN Networks. In 2018, he acted as the State Supervisor Jammu and Kashmir for conducting minor project survey on politics and society between elections by CSDS in collaboration with Azim Premji Foundation, sponsored by the ICSSR. In 2019, he again acted as the State Supervisor Jammu and Kashmir for conducting Parliamentary Election Survey by CSDS and sponsored by the ICSSR. He has published many research papers and book chapters in reputed journals and books. He has been the content developer of MOOC, massive open online course entitled Indian Government and Politics on the Swayam portal in 2020. He has won the Best Paper Award at the IIHSG International Conference in 2021 on gender security and global politics, and his research interests include local governance, Kashmir politics, security, and conflict studies. Imran is the editor of this third book, Different Dimensions of Human Security and Governance, published by the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance. And I now invite Imran to briefly talk about his book and his experiences in researching and editing on this subject. Imran, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. Am I audible? Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. This is Imran Ahmed Khan from University of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. So I'm very thankful to Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance for giving me the opportunity to edit the book, Different Dimensions of Human Security and Governance. So this is the platform where I got the first book to be published by Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance. To introduce my book, I will introduce some of the something about my book, the human security and governance, different dimensions of human security and governance. I will start. The definition of security is changing because the state's primary goal is to protect its population security and always been centered on the state. This protection has become more difficult for some governments to give because of economic hardships, globalization, and weak governance inside their own borders. In war-torn countries, this inability is most apparent. Warlords and paramilitaries have been able to use the state to threaten the rights and well-being of its citizens, and the state has been unable to rein them in. This compels us to look beyond the state and towards individuals, as well as to analyze the role of international system in compensating for state failures. As Amartya Sen put it, the real freedoms that individuals enjoy are bolstered and expanded by a secure human population. People who are protected may make decisions, and those who are empowered can help avoid and minimize the effects of security flaws and new devices in the protection system. With this shift, the global reality and viewpoint comes in debate on security. We are no longer constrained to discussing the rights of states and sovereignty of Westphalian era. At this point, civic protection, dealing with war-affected children and terrorists, managing open borders, as well as battling contagious illness are all on the table. This trend indicates a growing understanding that the safety and security of individuals must always take precedence above all other considerations. It is, however, a phrase that has been around for some time. This understanding of importance of people's rights has been steadily increasing since the conclusion of World War II. The right to personal security is enshrined in the international law, including Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Genocide Convention, the Geneva Conventions. When human rights are violated, they undermine the traditional view of security. A new emphasis on human security emphasizes the importance of protecting people and promoting peace across the world. The safety and well-being of world's citizens cannot be adequately guaranteed by security of governments alone. There are a number of pressing issues in the world today. In order for security policy and analysis to be successful and legitimate, the individual must be regarded as a referent and major beneficiary of such efforts. Freedom from want and freedom from fear are wide definitions of human security that encompass both positive and negative liberties and rights in relation to persons' most basic requirements. As such, food, health, and environment are the three most important aspects of human well-being that need to be considered. The contemporary world's food, health, and environment crises have prompted a variety of national responses. All of these sub-areas have laws and programs in place to make them reality, but these countries are still unable to sustain their legal measures economically. South Asian countries borrowing money from International Monetary Fund and World Bank to keep their borders secure may come as a surprise to some that these countries seldom borrow money to address their pressing problems. After considering all of the above, this book dives deep into previously listed topics and explores all of the aforementioned areas of contemporary academic interests. Conventional and modern conceptions of security and combined to strengthen the individual's ability to cope with life's challenge. This book conveys concern for South Asian countries with a renewed focus on the dilemma they face in the contemporary world. It examines different issues that are essentially a threat to South Asian continent and pose a challenge to global world as well. Indeed, a reader-friendly book aiming to help students and scholars on the concept of human security in the South Asia. Thank you very much. I'm again thanking Interdisciplinary Institute for giving me this opportunity, for giving me this platform to publish or to edit the book. That is very thankful. I'm very thankful to them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Imran. Thank you for sharing with us your insights. We now have come to the end of this session, and I would now hand over the proceedings to the organizers, and I'm sure we go in for a break right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhrubajyoti Banerjee. Now, Professor Bulu Mukhopadhyay, HOD, English Department, New Alipore College, and convener of Women's Cell of New Alipore College, to felicitate our distinguished guest. I'll request Dr. Gauri Shankar Nag, Dr. Shoham Samajpati, Dr. Bibhuti Bishas, and Dr. Kanchan Chanda to come up on stage and please take their chairs. Please, ma'am, sir. Professor Bulu Mukhopadhyay of Department of English will felicitate Dr. Gauri Shankar Nag. Professor Sucharita Bhattacharya will assist her. Dr. Gauri Shankar Nag. Now, Dr. Mukhopadhyay will felicitate Dr. Shoham সমাজপতি। Now we will welcome Dr. Vibhuti Bishwas, Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations, School of Humanities and Social Science, Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi. Lastly, Professor Mukhopadhyay will felicitate Dr. Kanchan Chandan, Faculty, Punjab University. Thank you, Professor Mukhopadhyay. Now, now we are privileged to have our distinguished guests. Now I would like to request Professor Dr. Gauri Shankar Nag, Head of the Department of Political Science, Sidhu Kanu Biswa University, Purulia, to share his knowledge with us. We are eagerly waiting for you. A few words from you, sir.
Very good afternoon. My sincere gratitude to the organizer and the scholars and the students of the Department of Political Science, New Alipore College. Actually, I feel very nostalgic because years ago, at least around 10 years ago, I was a part-time faculty of this department when Siddhartha Mitra was the head of the department of this department. So actually it fills my heart with a feeling of joy that I actually came back to this department as a resource person, but I would not like to linger my speech. Actually, I thought that a theoretical paper could be presented because I was actually thinking from the perspective of public goods theory, and I was actually, when I entered the seminar room, though late, some insightful comments of Professor Gopal Dhar Choudhury excited me. At the very fag end of his delivery, he said that we should not, in the name of human security, we should not actually perpetuate the supply of freebies. Any service should not be taken for granted. And if we actually encourage this kind of tendency, then actually it is the human nature that they will start actually taking the opportunity and free ride. So nothing comes free of cost. Every service has a cost, and individual themselves, they know that they have a rational character, and individuals are very keen, very prone to actually rationally calculating when this service will be provided free of cost. So actually, this is a kind of what I would say pollution in the name of human security. From this particular aspect, I would like to actually highlight a few aspects of today's main theme, that is human security and governance. When I was thinking about human security, a few key points that actually come to my mind. Because in a sense, to me, and I think for the scholars and the students, this is a unique opportunity in the post-COVID world, because perhaps this is the first time that we are shifting from online to offline kind of intellectual exercise. And I think that it is a kind of exciting experience. Although I think that human security is a kind of serious issue, and we should actually deepen our thought, academic thought, because whatever actually we do, we need to base our knowledge on research findings. Without any research findings, if we try to talk on an issue, it becomes a kind of advocacy. It becomes a kind of popular talk show. But human security is a research topic, and it is an emerging topic. I would say it is an unfolding domain. So this unfolding domain of knowledge needs to be thought in its multifarious dimension, and also these dimensions could only be appreciated in their true gravity if we get true information. Because nowadays we have been exposed to a kind of digital global world, digitalized global world. But we need to interrogate to ourselves, put this question to ourselves, from where these information flow are coming. I was talking to, I would not take much time actually, because I am particularly feeling eager to listen to Professor Samajpati's lecture. I am feeling very proud that I am actually sharing the dais with prominent scholars, and particularly Professor Samajpati. He will actually, I think, deliver on a very interesting kind of phenomena, bioterrorism. When we enter the field, this unfolding field, I was also turning the pages of the publications that this institution has brought about, and various issue areas actually are reflected in the publications, from gender equality to kind of women trafficking to kind of COVID situation. So I think that to me, if I can reflect, if I can properly comment upon this situation of human security, I think that that the world has changed. Particularly in the post-COVID situation, the world has changed. So it will not be very easy to reconcile with a traditional kind of situation, because everything has become strained. Everything has come under very stress. So human security needs collaborative approach. There are different kinds of pillars. I was actually want to share that there are economic pillars, there are health pillars, there are environmental protection pillars, but all these pillars cannot be tackled by unilateralism. But if we look at the concrete reality, it will be evident that we are very much accustomed to adjust with American unilateralism. What are the features of American unilateralism? We need to actually go into the details, the nitty-gritty, the nuances of unilateralism of the American superpower supremacy. It is not that... Okay. Ma'am, just 2-3 minutes. If we think about this unilateralism, it will not be out of context to tell that it is the result of American kind of superpower ego, or by default, America has become a superpower in the post-Cold War situation, and it does not want any collaboration or kind of alliance with other powers. This kind of narrative is false narrative. Actually tends to move unilaterally. And there are domestic pressures of the industrial lobbies. Most of the students of the political science, they know how the American politics operate through separation of power and the congressional operations, and particularly there are studies which show that in the post-Cold War situation, American foreign policy is being under the control of the American Senate. So there are kind of adjustments, and American executive is not always exercise its own way. As we think that America will come with its grand power narrative and it will be backing. But in fact, we are seeing that there is a kind of skepticism to multilateralism. It is very unfortunate that we actually, what we see in international politics today. And what I said, if I take a cue from my initial comments, that after COVID situation, it is also very doubtful how far there will be international alliances, because everybody has become alert. Alert particularly means every state is now preoccupied with their own narrow national interest. So whether in the post-COVID situation, a kind of altruistic, humanistic thought will ultimately prevail over the narrow nationalistic perspective, and the challenge of governance that actually is a topic of today's lecture. Whether that kind of governance we can actually arrive at, whether that can be implemented, lot of coordinations at different multi-level governance, whether that can be properly coordinated or implemented, that remains a big question in the post-COVID situation. So I would not linger my points, but I actually thought that my theoretical perspective would have been to examine a kind of new ideas, to apply a new ideas from the perspective of public goods approach. Public goods approach, if you look at what are the main components of human security, and then if you can classify those components, then you will see that all the components are not equal. There are different classifications within the component itself, because protection from violence, protection from disease, these are some what actually the public debates, public goods theories, they debate that these are the access good. These are not the goods, these are the access good. Whether there are some other goods, that is public health itself. These are the end goods, and end goods actually is what is universal in its impact. So if I can, for example, peace, for example, public health, these are the end goods. And when we think about protection against natural calamity, protection against the disease, it is actually a kind of access goods. And access goods often create a kind of debate, because when you have to see that who is trying to access the good, in which context one is trying to access the good. Because, for example, we are sitting in this college. This college is well located within Calcutta, but if I go from here to kind of a remote situation in Basanti, that is not very well connected. So people will not think about going to a distant place, but people still live there, still reside there. So access good often create a kind of dilemma insofar as the investment kind of situation, investment to facilitate, to create a kind of ambience is concerned. So there are, for example, India is a South Asian country, but how far South Asian region is well connected globally, from the globalization perspective, how far this region is globalized is a kind of critical consideration to the international donor agencies. So these are the different aspects that I wanted to actually elaborate, but due to the time constraint, I am leaving here, and I think that my co-panelists, particularly Shombabu and Vibhuti Babu, they will actually give us some very exciting thoughts that we are waiting because when we are deliberating upon this issue of human security in a theoretical terms, actually the war is going on between Russia and Ukraine, and how the war is being actually, the information is coming, what is the narrative, and how the bioterrorism is actually being designed, and what is the next threat that is coming to overwhelm the humankind. Because when this war actually erupted, there was lot of talks that perhaps the Third World War was going to be fought. So we are still very much in an alarming situation. So I would like to eagerly hear the lecture of Professor Samajpati and Professor Vibhuti বিশ্বাস, my junior colleague. I think they will also offer you some very interesting inputs that might actually enrich our mental perspective rather than thinking it in a kind of pedagogical, popularized style. So we need not jump on the bandwagon of this concept without knowing the nitty-gritty of the details and their implications of human security. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a brief presentation and making us aware of the nitty-gritties and the complexities of present world scenario. Well, now we'll move on. Actually, we have with us Dr. Rajpal Budania. He will join us online. He is the HOD and the former HOD of Department of Political Science, University of Allahabad. Sir, I would like to hear a few words from you. Rather, we all would like to hear a few words from you. Sir, over to you. Sir, are you there?
Participate in this seminar. My heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for inviting me to deliver this special address. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, thank you. I will simply speak some very general things about human security and how it is important for the area in which we live, that is South Asia. Well, South Asia is a unique region. We are a part of the developing world. Most of the countries have very poor developmental indicators. If you look at the human security prism, then on most of the dimensions, the countries of this region, including India, are at the lower prism. We are having very low per capita income, and despite the fact that economies are growing, economy of India particularly, India is one of the largest economies in the world today, the 6th largest economy. The standard of living is very poor. Apart from this, another dimension in South Asia we witness is regarding armaments. We have two countries, India and Pakistan, which are in a competitive relationship in terms of arms races. There has been a qualitative change in arms races in South Asia. We are spending a lot on arms buildup, and there is a dangerous duel in the region in terms of nuclear deterrence. Apart from India and Pakistan, we have China bordering the region, a nuclear weapon state. In terms of democracy, political systems, there have been positive indicators that most of the South Asian countries few years ago could boast of having democratically elected governments. But today we find that democracy is on retreat. After about a year ago, Taliban came to power in Afghanistan. There is a serious challenge to democracy in Pakistan. In our neighborhood, particularly in Myanmar, the democracy has been uprooted, and so there are serious problems. COVID-19 pandemic has aggravated the situation. Apart from economic fallout, it is also having serious political consequences. Today we find that most of the economies in South Asia have contracted. India is a good example that it has done reasonably well on managing its economy despite the COVID-19 pandemic, but rest of the countries in the region are facing serious financial crisis. If you look at environmental situation, then we find that environment or climate change is a serious problem for the countries of this region. The climate changes in weather patterns has affected productivity in India and in other countries of the region. So in terms of human security, I believe that South Asia is facing a unique crisis. But still we have to manage the situation. When we say human security, that essentially means that we think of the people rather than the state. If people are secure, then the state also becomes secure. And a reference point is human security, individual society. But again, we find that at the global level, we have some happenings which indicate to the fact that security to be premised on individuals as reference points becomes a serious matter for security analyzers. In South Asia also, state is very important institution. But at the same time, we have to think of the welfare of the people as well. Good thing about South Asian countries in context of human security is that most of the states are making attempts to promote human security. Human security cannot be promoted through individual efforts of states. It is an international obligation. Human security can be promoted through collective efforts, through multilateralism, through building cooperative institutions. Europe is better off in terms of human security indicators because of three factors: democracy, interdependence, and strong institutions. In South Asia also we need these three parameters to promote human security. We must promote democracy. We must promote the true values of democracy in all countries. Then interdependence, essentially interconnectedness and interdependence. They are very important for promoting human security. If India and Pakistan are not willing to cooperate, then it is very difficult to achieve the human security objectives in this region. India and Pakistan have a centrality in terms of any kind of security in the region, whether it is military security, whether it is economic security or human security. So until unless the relationship between these two countries is not normalized, it will be a very difficult proposition to promote human security in the region. Secondly, for promoting human security in South Asia, it is important to strengthen the institutions of regional cooperation, just like it has happened in Europe or elsewhere. In South Asian context, we have SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC. But it has not worked to its potential. Even in times of COVID-19, in times of Sri Lanka facing acute financial problems, Afghanistan facing serious internal political changes and problems of human rights, SAARC has not even conducted its summit for a long time. Probably it is the only regional grouping in the world that it has not been able to hold its summit for a long time. I think for the last time when the SAARC summit was held, it was in 2014 in Kathmandu. So SAARC is an important institution, important body, not only for developing the understanding and parameters of cooperation, but also giving a concrete shape to human security parameters through this regional grouping. If you look at the important role of regional groupings all over the world, you will find that they have played a very constructive role in promoting peace, progress, and prosperity across borders. So this is important. Then I think we have paucity of time. So lastly, I would like to say that India has a special role to play for promoting human security in South Asia. India has the wherewithal, the economic wherewithal, to render assistance to South Asian countries. I won't say that India should intervene on humanitarian problems, but it is important for India to render humanitarian assistance to the countries of the region. And it is something important to note that India has played an important role in giving humanitarian assistance to most of the countries in the region. Sri Lanka has achieved a lot of assistance from India during its financial crisis during the current year. India has rendered financial support of about, I think, $3.8 billion. India has given very significant constructive developmental support to Afghanistan before Taliban came to power, and even now, India is willing to ensure that the people of Afghanistan do not suffer. We have sent large amounts of food grains to Afghanistan, wheat and other items, medicine and all that to Afghanistan, and we are willing to play a much more meaningful role in Afghanistan, despite the fact that we do not agree with the political regime coming to power through undemocratic means. Assistance to Bangladesh, to other neighboring countries, say Nepal and Bhutan. So it is good to note that India is playing a proactive role in promoting human security through humanitarian assistance rather than humanitarian intervention. So, but the important thing is that the human rights problems have to be addressed, other problems have to be addressed, and their collective efforts are needed. Multilateralism is needed. Bilateralism is not enough to promote human security at the regional level. And for that, it is important that India plays an important role in reviving the SARC structure. SARC functioning well is in the interest of everyone, including India. So it is important that the SARC platform is used for addressing the problems which countries are facing, problems related to human security. And there I think India can play a significant role, significant constructive role. And this is unfortunate to note that multilateralism has not really taken a fruitful upswing in this region. Multilateralism is the need of the hour, and that needs to be promoted. SARC is a multilateral form, but apart from SARC, there can be other agreements, there can be other treaties arrived at through multilateral efforts. So SARC, the South Asian region has to move forward in a collective manner. Decisions and policies have to be taken in a collective manner. Only then human security can be promoted in the region in the true sense. The task is very difficult, as I mentioned, some indicators, developmental indicators of the region. We are a very poor region with very low per capita incomes. Even doubling these per capita incomes will take more than a decade. So it can be done if there is cooperation, and in this regional cooperation, the core is India-Pakistan relationship. Until unless India-Pakistan relationship acquires a semblance of cooperation and normalization, it will be very difficult to move forward to achieve something meaningful on human security indicators. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. So now, quickly, I'll move on to Dr. Kanchan Chanda, faculty, Punjab University, to share a few words very briefly. Ma'am, we are yes.
I completely understand the paucity of time, and I would like to do justice to that. Is it okay? Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to tell you all that I'm coming all the way from Punjab to see Kolkata and its people. And I would like to thank IIHSG and New Alipore College to give me this opportunity. I'm humbled and blessed to be here. It's been always you always have a fantasy, and I always wanted to be to the birthplace of great Rabindranath Tagore and the workplace of Mother Teresa. So I'm glad to be here among you all. So I will not speak much about, because a lot has been said about the human security. On the broader aspect, we talk about how it has impacted the globe, how it has impacted the international relations, but what is left out is we want to go to the micro level and talk about a child, a girl child security, which we can see that how it has been hampered by the female feticide and infanticide, which has been part of our patriarchal mindset. So I will talk about the child security thing. As we all know that every human being, including children, has certain inherent rights that come from nature. These basic rights have been given to humans since the beginning of time. Since conception, human beings have been endowed with rights. The fetus in the mother's womb is the starting point, as every human being is granted some basic rights from that moment on. Each one of us has these rights. These inherent rights cannot be granted or revoked by the state. These rights must be acknowledged and protected by the state. Children will be the future guardians of sovereignty, the rule of law, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, and ultimately world peace and security. They can become the embodiment of our values, objectives, ambitions, and hopes for the futures, like you all are sitting here. These are the futures in the form of great thinkers, leaders, scientists, statesmen, and capable legislators. We have seen that the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, adopted by the League of Nations Fifth Assembly in 1924, is often regarded as the first international treaty addressing child rights. Children are a great human resource, but they are also vulnerable. Various Indian laws concentrating on a position where children are treated as non-entities, and where conscious attempts are taken to not only free them from exploitation and abuse, but also to enable them to realize their full potential with fair access to food, health, education, and respect. A child's right to a safe childhood is a basic human right. They face the death penalty, kidnapped, or subjected to brutal and inhuman punishments, and are subjected to a variety of other forms of violence. Social justice, non-discrimination, equity, and empowerment are the main concerns of the rights approach. Millions of children are exploited, abused, and discriminated across the world. These children include child laborers, children affected by armed conflicts, sexually exploited children, children in conflict with the law or state in custody. So this kind of platforms are the biggest source of critically evaluation and how successfully child rights violation can be avoided, as well as to provide important assistance to the governments to their responsibilities to protect children's rights and reduce their vulnerability to danger. I call upon all of you to take the opportunity to participate in these kind of conferences and these kind of platforms, not just to get the certificates, but to come up with good findings which can help and we can give back to the society. So I once again will not take it more further and thank each one of you for a patient hearing, and I thank IIHSG and New Alipore College. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, for wrapping up in such a short span of time. Hope you will have a nice stay in Kolkata and we won't much longer it. Now I'll move on to the next special address by Professor Rajkumar Kothari, Department of Political Science, Diamond Harbour Women's University, West Bengal. Well, sir is an expert in this area of human security, and it's always a delight to hear from you, sir. So I would request sir to briefly share his expert view on this matter. Over to you, sir. So I'll move on to our next distinguished guest and resource person, Professor Subrata Kumar Verma, Professor and Head of the Department, Political Science, Dean and Faculty of Social Sciences, JP University, Chapra. Sir, if you could please share your insight with all of us, sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are you hearing me? I was expected to visit Kolkata today to attend this webinar, and I am very much thankful to Dr. Nandini Basistha for inviting me. But unfortunately, for the last 3 days, I am not keeping well, and perhaps I am suffering from COVID. I am COVID positive also. I have been tested COVID positive. So that's why I postponed my program and I'm addressing this webinar online. Since time is very short and there are many speakers, I will be in very briefly, I will conclude my observations, and in only 5 to 7 minutes, I will conclude. I will discuss briefly the significant human security challenges that India are facing. While India is home to the world's richest people, it is also home to the world's poorest, such as Naxalite movement, are only symptoms of emerging disaffection with the government. If India wishes to reap the future benefits of a vibrant economy, it must address the growing economic disparity in its population. Many of India's human security concerns continue to be located within the institutions and structures, which are not easily or equally accessible to all its citizens. Unless India is able to develop social and political delivery system that distribute the benefits of economic growth beyond the privileged few, the country's potential to be a regional or global power will be limited. Human security approach can be usefully applied as a policy measure in India to reinforce successes in the social and economic spheres so that the possibility of dissatisfaction turning into violent opposition and internal conflict is minimized. Thank you so much. This is my brief observation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It was a very brief and concise presentation. It was totally... Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So now we'll move on to the next to our next special address by Professor Rajkumar Kothari. Hope he has joined by now. Sir, are you there?
And at the very outset, I thank the organizers for organizing such a wonderful event on human security, which is a very hot topic if we look at the theme through the perspective of international relations and world politics. And at the same time, I am extremely sorry that I was to be there physically but for some constraints, emergency work at my university. So I am still here, but somehow the organizers, I was in touch with them that if I find time, I would like to make my presentation online also. So I am here today. And human security, basically, I'll just say a couple of points because it is presumed or assumed that lots of discussions have already taken place since early morning. So some of the basic points relating to human rights, I will try to skip, and I shall just focus on a couple of points. That is, human rights essentially as a concept is a post-Second World War development. All of us are aware because the very idea or the concept of security, it has undergone transformation. And over the years, we see that non-traditional security is increasingly becoming more and more important at the national, international, and global level. So human security has become one of the integral part or indispensable part of, what should I say, non-traditional security. This is point number one, if we look at the theme conceptually and theoretically. Point number two is the United Nations has been instrumental as far as advancing the advancement of the idea in theory and practice is concerned. So United Nations from the very beginning has been very instrumental in taking this idea very forward. But when we look at human security, one thing which comes to my mind is that over the years, increasingly what we see is that traditional security, that state is the kingmaker, and state is the key player, that has faced lots of challenges because of the growing importance of non-traditional security. And that is why we see that from the perspective of the United Nations, that a number of initiatives have already been undertaken to promote and advance the idea and the concept of human security. Now, coming to the third point of my presentation, that since 1970s onwards, we find that this non-traditional security in practice is becoming more significant and more important. Couple of examples to corroborate my statement is that G77 countries, they during 1970s, they focused on the linkage between underdevelopment and security. So from the perspective of the developing world, this was indeed a major breakthrough when for the first time this linkage between underdevelopment and security was recognized. Thereafter, in 1980, we see the Brandt Commission, the Independent Commission on International Development related issues. This commission linked the idea of peace with the eradication of hunger and inequality. Almost similar on the line of what G77 nations had earlier proposed and submitted. Then South Commission in the 90s, they also focused on poverty, environmental dangers, the deficiencies of democracy. This is also another important dimension of human security. So these came to the picture. And human security, particularly, I would place more emphasis on Human Development Report that was published in the year 1994. Here, what we see that this particular report outlined the need for a profound transition in the thinking from nuclear security to human security. So, because all of us are aware that from early 90s, due to the proliferation of nuclear weapons, the world was focusing more and more non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. But in this 94 Human Development Report, it identified, pinpointed, and focused on the fact that nuclear security is not enough. The human security is an emerging area, emerging issue, and it needs to be paid due attention. So therefore, over the years, particularly, or if not years, I should say over the decades, the concept of human security has undergone some radical transformation and changes. In this backdrop, I would like to remind, this must have been discussed in today's whole day seminar, that this Pakistani economist, the famous Pakistani economist, Mahabul ul Haq and others, they were the kingmaker, they were the pioneers, they were these thinkers, this group of economists, they were increasingly dissatisfied with the traditional notion of development. And why they were increasingly dissatisfied with the traditional notion of development? Because they found it, traditionally, the concept of development was viewed that it is the outcome of economic growth. That means only we are focusing on economic growth for the advancement or for the promotion of development, but this is not so. So here also we find another interesting fact with regard to the human security. Now, if we find some of the important characteristics of human security, then I would like to focus on some few important components. What are the components? That is, human security, as far as the present globalized world order is concerned, it is a universal phenomenon. It is not confined to any particular region as such, rather it is globally relevant. Point number 2 is its components are interdependent in nature, because human security consists of it has a broad framework, which due to paucity of time I may not be able to focus here. But it consists of so many dimensions. I am sure that this must have been discussed in today's conference from the very beginning. Point number 3. So therefore, prevention part is more important. And finally, the important point in respect of human security is it is people-centered. It focuses on the well-being of the people. It takes into account the security. It may be health security. It may be environmental security. It may be, as I stated earlier, security from in respect of food, hunger, etc., etc., so on and so forth. So these are basically the 4 important dimensions and aspects of components of human security. Now, coming to the final part of my presentation, where I would like to submit my own views as far as there is a link conceptually and theoretically. If we study, there is a linkage between human security and state security or traditional security. Now, this linkage, if we make an in-depth analysis, we find that generally these two are viewed as contradictory in nature. That means if we want to promote state security or traditional security, then human security part is neglected, and vice versa. But again, if we make an in-depth analysis, then I feel that no, there is some kind of interlinkage. If state security is more important, then obviously we need to invest more money for the advancement of state security. That means nation should be secured, and the first and foremost condition, it should be there. And then if we pay more attention to state security, the outcome is that human security part is neglected. Like right to food, hunger, so on and so forth, health security, environmental security. So my point is that from one perspective, if we see that these two are contradictory in nature, but again, state has a responsibility towards the advancement and promotion of human security. As an actor, state has its own responsibility. And from this perspective, state should invest sufficient amount of fund in the field of human security. That means what I'm trying to argue as a final point of my presentation is this, that state security or the traditional security and non-traditional security, they are not contradictory to each other. Rather, they are complementary in nature, and state should take into account human security, and human security has become the foremost important aspect as far as the present day global order is concerned. So going back from where I started is that human security in the 21st century has posed major challenges, particularly if we look at this point from the perspective of the developing world. Because in the 21st century also, hunger, poverty, underdevelopment in a significant part of the world, these are very much present. So given this situation, a balance between traditional security and non-traditional, because if I say that human security should be the foremost important component, in that case, we may tend to neglect state security, right? So state security should not be neglected, at the same time human security. So theoretically, how I view is, this is my final point, that state should focus on defensive realism. That means minimum defense requirement to secure the territory boundary of the state, and at the same time, the rest of the funding should go to the field of human security. That is how I view the entire conceptual framework from my own perspective. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It's always a delight to hear from you. And you have shared your insight in such a concise manner. We are really grateful to you. So now I'll move on to our next special address by Dr. Shuham Shomachpati. He is a medical researcher, Russian National Research Medical University, Moscow, Russian Federation. So I would like to hear from you. Rather, we will all like to hear a few words from you, sir.
Good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude to IIHSG, Delhi, and Calcutta University, New Alipore College campus for organizing this conference today. So, as fellow professor has already said about the narratives, this is a world at this stage of time. We are being dominated, our thought process is being dominated by narratives. It doesn't matter whether the narrative is factually correct or incorrect. Now, see, my field is medical science, it's not political science, but I think people sitting out there, you are very well to do with theories like the singleton theory, the gene-sharp theory, Goebbels theory. And these theories are being very intricately being utilized today. Just look at the current scenario where this time is just a repetition of the 1935. You see grouping of nations being built up. And very politely, I would like to differ with the honorary previous speaker that the UN has done well. I'm sorry to say, sir, UN has done nothing. UN has not done well. UN has presented bias report at many congregations, be it the COVID-19 and be it the crisis in Ukraine at this current point of time. Doesn't it feel very superficial stating that the Russian president is psychiatrically ill and that's why he waged a war on a country? This crisis has been going on from around about 2009 or 2010. So there is even the IIHSG had given a report in the year 2015. In the year 2015, they gave a report on decreasing condition, livelihood of the ethnic Russians in the eastern Ukraine region. But you see, I will read you out 2-3 lines from their report. At one point, they are saying that it should be recognized that a gradual decline in the influence and extent of a formerly dominant minority language and culture does not automatically indicate evidence of discrimination of Ukrainian national identity and language. And in next point they write, in many states, as in many states, the infrastructure for minority rights protection requires strengthening, development, and complaints by minority must be addressed appropriately. Why this insecurity, sir? Why there is this insecurity? If everything was all right, why there is this insecurity? There was butchering of ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. Children were killed. Women were stripped out of their dress. They were raped publicly. People were murdered, and even people were tied in series in Donbass, Donetsk. They were tied to electric pole in a series, and swastika was drawn on their back with knife. This is the reality. Now coming to so this point, the Azov battalion and all these, the point which Russia has been trying to point out every time, each and every time. But you see, our media, the world media, is English dominated. So we hear what the West says. We don't hear all the voices. That's the problem. I will give you another incident. Dom Prof Soyuz. Dom Prof Soyuz basically means house of the professors. So in Dom Prof Soyuz, that's a building, and some yards away from the building there was a football stadium, and there was a football match going on. After the match, crazy fans comes out. They lock ethnic Russians inside Dom Prof Soyuz and they burn it down, around 50 Russians. And after burning it down, they were taking selfies and posting it on social networking sites like VK. So, okay, so as per the UNHC report, there was no racism. There was no Nazism, no racism. Okay. Next point, which is actually very related to my field. That is the bioweapon proliferation. Now, bioweapon proliferation, there is proper UN charter against bioweapon proliferation. No country in the world can go for a bioweapon proliferation. Yes, there were, the USA has been very infamous regarding maintenance of such charter. There has been lot of experiments where people directly, medicine and toxins have been tried on people. Psychiatric experiments were done on the people. For example, Operation Noonday Climax in somewhere in the 1950s. So now I will give you some intricate dates. Just try to mug up these dates in your mind. 20th February 2021, first human transmitted case of the avian flu virus H5N8 was noticed in Russia. H5N8 is a type of virus from the influenza A group, This is more deadly than COVID in some manner. And this virus, before this, has never been seen in human. It is simple bird-to-bird transmission. And the documents, so after this, 1 year after this, we come 1 year just from 2021. 24th February 2022, Russia launches an attack on Ukraine. Now this infection which happened in the Russian territory, this infection was in Astrakhan. Now Astrakhan, location of Astrakhan is just surrounding to the border of bordering eastern Ukraine. There is a state in between Ukraine and Astrakhan, and there is Astrakhan. Now, there were BSL-3 laboratories which were constructed in ample number in Ukraine. BSL-3 laboratories, basically this is biosafety level 3 laboratory. These laboratories are very technological laboratory, and you don't need this laboratory for simple bacterial and virological culturing. I think for such a fast growing economy like India, it is the fastest in the world now. We don't have so many BSL-3 laboratories that Ukraine had, and very funny that the economy of Ukraine is not even half of that of our state Goa. Why were so many BSL-3 laboratories in different parts of Ukraine, sir? And the US funded, and funding was not given by Ministry of Health for health collaboration. Funding was given by US Defense Ministry to Ministerstvo obrony, that is the weapon ministry of Ukraine, and a funding of 11.6 million US dollars, which is approximately 92 crore INR. You know, it is very, very funny. For starting up a biotech industry, you need approximately 15 to 20 crore, not more than that. What was the government doing with 92 crore INR? That is $11.6 million. And the most funny thing was when these labs, many of them were destroyed in this war by hyperbaric bomb attacks. The documents which were retrieved from the laboratories had the same name of the same virus written on it, that is H5N8. How interestingly similar. Now, so the point is, we are run by narratives. No one is interested in facts. So this is in psychiatry we call it illusionary truth effect. I will keep on saying you a thing. I will keep you saying that sun rises from the west. Sun rises from the west. Yeah. Okay, just I'm finishing. Sun rises from the west, and after 100 days you will say yes, sun rises from the west. This is medically very true, because your neurons get excited just on that word. So I would conclude by saying that the political scientist and the future political scientist sitting right up there on the back rows of this hall, you have an intense responsibility coming up in the next decade. The world has changed very rapidly, and improper formulation and improper policies will drive us into destruction. As it had happened previously, we had seen already 2 wars. And yes, our generation has not seen what is a war. If someone has their great-grandparent alive, you might ask them what it looks like, a war. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shramachpati, for giving us a different aspect, which were lesser known aspects actually. So thanks for your presentation. Now I'll request another special address by the next special address by Dr. Gilbert P. Monalista, Director of Gender and Development Office, Pangasinan State University, Philippines. He will join us virtually. Hope he is there.
International Seminar on Human Security and Governance, Challenges and Prospects, namely Dr. David Sarangi, Patron, Dr. Nandini Basistha, Convener, Dr. Drupajyoti Banerjee, Advisor, Dr. Madhuparma Dutta, Organizing Secretary, and all members of the committee, Dr. Srimati Ganguly, Dr. Sundata Banerjee, Devarati Mandal, and Dr. Pema Lama. Thank you, Dr. Nandini, for inviting me as one of your resource persons to this prestigious introduction. A pleasant day of all for the United Nations Trust and for Human Security, full of threats made from natural disasters, persistent poverty, epidemics, and economic downturns impose hardships and undercut prospects for peace, stability, and sustainable development. Such crises are complex, entailing multiple forms of human insecurity. When they overlap, they can grow exponentially, spilling into all aspects of people's lives, destroying entire communities and crossing national borders. As noted in General Assembly Resolution 66/290, human security is an approach to assist the member states in identifying and addressing widespread and cross-cutting challenges to the survival, livelihood, and dignity of their people. It calls for people-centered, comprehensive, context-specific, and prevention-oriented responses that strengthen the protection and empowerment of all people. Human security focuses on the protection of individuals. Violent conflicts, especially of an intrastate nature, are a major threat to human security because of their wide-ranging and devastating impact. Key factors that can cause conflict include a state's history, the personalities of its leaders, and external actors. Beyond conflict, major threats to human security target the health of people, law and order, state authority, economy, and the environment. To address them, a better understanding of the components of security is needed. And associated with this, the sources of threats to this security. It is much better to address issues before they threaten lives and livelihoods. Recognizing the root causes and manifestations of challenges varies significantly across countries and communities. Human security promotes responses that are grounded in local realities. It helps localize international and national agenda to ensure that no one is left behind. Prevention is the core objective of human security. It addresses the root causes of vulnerabilities, focuses attention on emerging risks, and emphasizes early action. It strengthens local capacities to build resilience and promotes solutions that enhance social cohesion and advance respect for human rights and dignity. The preliminary condition for good governance is the establishment of the rule of law, which ultimately supplants the rule of whims and caprices of those in power. In the Philippines, the discourse and practice of human security have garnered much attention over the past years. This novel concept has shifted the way we look at security from a state-centered focus to a more holistic understanding of security that puts a premium on humans and humanity. Based on the report of Johnson A. Badawi, with its pillars on protection and empowerment, human security emphasizes a people-centered principle that highlights inclusion and participation in each approach. While this has been practiced and documented by international examination of the challenges of ITs vis-a-vis the freedom from fear, want, and to live in dignity. Finally, the prospects of applying the human security approach will be explored. Human security as a complementary approach to the traditional understanding of security has gained considerable prominence at the international level. The United Nations played an important role in its conceptual development, advocacy, legitimation, and codification and implementation. Since the 1994 Human Development Report published by the United Nations Development Program, human security as a concept was formally introduced to the international community. The IPs in Mindanao are culturally and collectively referred to as human. This is a local Cebuano term that means born of the earth, homegrown, or indigenous. This name appropriately describes these vulnerable groups. They are the original inhabitants of the island. They existed before the colonial times. Humans are largely animistic ethnic minorities who retain their way of beliefs and traditions. Compared to their ethno-linguistic Moro counterparts, they kept their indigenous practices and resisted the conversion to Islam or Christianity. From the global perspective, the United Nations identified three challenges of the 21st century: peace and security, the protection and promotion of human rights, and the reduction of poverty. Along peace and security, the resolution of the World Summit outcome affirms a commitment to work towards a security consensus based on the recognition that many threats are interlinked, recognizes the important role of the good offices of the Secretary General, reiterates the obligation of all member states to refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force in any manner inconsistent with the Charter of the United Nations, reiterates the importance of promoting and strengthening the multilateral process and the commitment to multilateralism, recognizes that international cooperation to fight terrorism must be conducted in conformity with international law and stresses the need to make every effort to reach an agreement on and conclude a comprehensive convention on international terrorism, recognizes the important contribution to peace and security by regional organizations as provided for under Chapter 7 of the Charter. The report of the UN Secretary General on the reduction of poverty places the question of poverty under the fourth freedom from want and gave a fairly detailed account of the Millennium Development Goals, which were established by the Secretariat after the adoption of the United Nations Millennium Declaration by the General Assembly in the year 2000. It says that the past 25 years have seen the most dramatic reduction in extreme poverty that the world has ever experienced. In our country, the core human security is the achievement of freedom from fear, want, and living in dignity. Among the nomads, the pursuit of these freedoms is a big challenge due to their vulnerable condition. Unlike many Filipinos, the manner they experience insecurities is magnified. Land grabbing and extraction, have impacted the lands and lives of humans. The World Bank has identified several challenges to good governance, which assume significance for developed and developing countries. These factors deal with the following political and administrative aspects, to include political accountability, including the acceptability of the political system by the people and regular elections to legitimize the exercise of political power. There should be freedom of associations and participation by various religious, social, economic, cultural, and professional groups in the process of governance. An established legal framework based on the rule of law and independence of the judiciary to protect human rights, secure social justice, and safeguard against exploitation and the abuse of power. Bureaucratic accountability, ensuring a system to monitor and control the performance of government offices and officials concerning the quality of services, efficiency, and misuse of discretionary power. The related determinants include openness and transparency in administration. Freedom of information is needed for the formulation of public policies, decision-making, monitoring, and evaluation of good performance. A sound administrative system should lead to efficiency and effectiveness. This in turn means value for money and cost effective. Lastly, there is a greater need for cooperation among government and civil organizations, streaming in the existing international, regional, and national mechanisms that can be invoked to facilitate the discourse and practice of human security for the LUMAD communities. While the UNDP Human Development Report 19, the Commission of Human Security, that elaborated on the approaches for its adoption, the Human Security Now reported detailed policy suggestions that 20 national governments can enact. A more recent document by the United Nations Trust Fund for Human Security alluded to the integration of human security to attain the Sustainable Development Goals and other global priorities. On the national level, the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act is compatible with human security, especially the promotion of social justice and human rights. This element guarantees the indigenous people's right to enjoy life, equal protection, and right to peace and social justice, among others. Particularly, Section 22 of IPRA stated the right of indigenous peoples to special protection and security during armed conflict. This act must be revisited and upheld to fulfill the promise of the state to establish protective mechanisms following international standards. Non-government organizations and initiatives have started programs for humanitarian response and protection. For example, the Protection Cluster Philippines had been active in responding to internally displaced people, including the IPs. Lastly, the coronavirus pandemic is posing the greatest challenge for humanity in the 21st century. It has also created opportunities for ceasefires between combatants, for peace between enemies, for cooperation across and within borders, and for building trust where there may be none. A security sector approach that focuses on human security offers the best chance of seizing those opportunities for the good of us. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Morarista, for your presentation. Now we are almost at the end of this session, and now we have another special address by Dr. Bibhuti Biswas, Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations, School of Humanities and Social Science, Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi. Thank you.
So don't worry. So it is always very challenging and to speak something at the end of the show. So anyways, I would like to thank Dr. Nandini for giving me this opportunity, and I thanks to all that you are sitting through the whole day. You might be exhausted and ready to go home. But anyways, as I was asked to, say something on this human security. So basically, this human security, when we are talking about human security, we talk about only very basic three things. That is freedom from fear, freedom from want, and freedom from indigeneity. So today, you see that I will give one or two example, and then I will conclude my talk, because I know that already organizer also said that I have only 2 minutes. So today, the United Nations, as previous speaker also he pointed out that today United Nations is not performing well or not done well. But on the other hand, you can see that today in the whole world, the reorganizations and reorientation of security systems are going on. So when one hand we are talking about the human security, that is means absence of conflict, absence of violence, and absence of crime. That means we are talking about peace. But that is actually absolutely missing. Now today you see that Ukraine and Russia's war is brutality and other kind of human, we can say Holocaust is going on, and the so-called the UN and NATO is keeping mum and looking at them. It is a kind of now becoming more, when we are talking about the human rights and we are talking about the human developments, but every 5 minutes in India, one female is raped. And when we are talking about free from wants, that means we are talking about absence of poverty, absence of infectious diseases, and then absence and then environmental degradations, which is again a very big threat for human existence, the environmental degradations. And then free from indigeneity, that is we are talking about the inclusive politics. But you see today, the haves and have-nots are always conflicting with each other, and it is a matter of, power and economic might. So, but we need, when we are talking about the human security, we must talk about and we must discuss about and think about the economic security. So the humans, the people, they want three different rights. That is political rights, economic rights, and social rights. So when we are talking about these three rights, basically we are talking about economic security, food security, health security, environmental security, the personal security, community security, and political security. But when the big powers like America and NATO, and on the other hand, like country like Russia, is tussling with each other for that maintaining their status or maintaining their supremacy in the world, it's becoming again very complex situations. As previous speaker also, he was talking about that biohazards or bioterrorism, how it is going on in all over the world. So it is again, you see that during pandemic period, we can see that now invisible, the strategy of war has been changed in a different dimensions, and this strategy of war, it's becoming, in a different way. And then artificial intelligence is taking over the most of the thing. So now we are talking about inclusive politics, or in the whole world, and whole world should come together and they should face challenges, whatever we are facing today, that is poverty, health, environmental issues and all. But these environmental issues or the refugees problems, which is again becoming more complex. So an example is Rohingya refugee there in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh is again an example of how this refugee problem is very much serious for the world, and particularly for South Asia. So we must cooperate with each other to address these issues. Then only it is possible. Haves and have-nots, that means there is a responsibility of equality and equity, the delivery equality and equity. Then only the whole world can come together and we can think about a peaceful world. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Biswas. It was a very short presentation, but although it was a short one, but it was a very enlightened one. So thank you once again, Dr. Biswas. So now we are at the end of this session. Third session will end over here. We are closing this session. And from now on, I'll hand over to conduct the next session to my colleague, Dr. Pema Lama. Please, Dr. Lama, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we start this open discussion, I would like to request Sir to share the audio-visual of of the Interdisciplinary Institute of Human Security and Governance, New Delhi. sir, for sharing such an insightful audiovisual on what actually the institution is all about. Thank you so much once again. We believe that the knowledge, expertise shared by our eminent resource persons in the blended mode has helped us immensely to understand the human security and governance challenges and prospects concept. But however, I don't want to leave the discussion here. I think we can make it more interesting further, as I would like to request other participants, other guests who are present with us here today, if they are willing to share their expertise, their knowledge on today's trending topic. So anybody? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly introduce yourself before you give your, share your insights.
Hello, respected, distinguished chairpersons, all other guests, ladies, gentlemen, and dignitaries. I am Dr. Tinni Datta, Assistant Professor from Muralidhar Girls College, Kolkata. Actually, my field is different. I am from the psychology background, but where the knowledge and expertise that I have learned today, that is the security of marginalized group. Marginalized group, drug trafficking and women's trafficking, trafficking of MSM and sex workers. Very reputed NGOs are working, and I am associated with one NGO, Human Development and Research Institute. So today it is very much important to give a special emphasis on drug trafficking, because in this way we can resolve the conflict, dilemma, anxiety of many talented individuals. So I request all of you, and before that I want to convey my heartiest thanks to Nandini, who has invited me to say a few words. Really, I am delighted, enraged, and I also like to thank to my mentors, Dr. D.P. Mollik and Dr. Deepak Kumar Kaur. Thank you
for your sharing. Anybody from the audience would like to share their experience or knowledge? Yes, ma'am.
I am one of the recipients of the awards. My name is Sharmita Ghosh. I am a research scholar with Amit University, Mumbai. I also teach in Amit University. So my paper, I don't want to take more than 2 minutes, so is about human security and the effect of education during the pandemic. So my paper looks at the effect of the pandemic on human security in the context of deprivation of education of children during the pandemic, and which is tantamount to the deprivation of capabilities. So this serious problem may be solved using the capability approach of Nobel laureate Dr. Amartya Sen. So what happened during the pandemic was that children were hugely disadvantaged. So more than the urban children, we found rural children suffering because they didn't have smartphones, they couldn't afford smartphones. Girls were asked to drop out from their education by their parents. Their midday meals were not given to them, but that was substituted by dry ration to their parents. So that nutritious food was lacking, the regular nutritious meals which children got when they went to schools. Compared to that, higher education system was better off, because, you know, I also teach. I found, of course, the levels varied, and some students adopted better than others. That always happens. Even you were part of the online education system. So Dr. Amartya Sen says that the responsibility to provide basic education to help satisfy the right to security is central to the understanding of the demands of human security. It's a very important aspect. And this capabilities approach of Dr. Sen was adopted by various governments, and one of the governments was in Malawi, Africa, where the needs of the children were identified, and accordingly they were supported. Some children supported, some children suffered due to depression. So their needs are different. So this was catered to by Team Malawi in Africa. So similarly, of course, the same thing is bound to happen across the world, because as you provide to children, they will respond accordingly. So the urban children responded better. Their parents sat next to them while they were undertaking their online classes. Whereas in rural places, many of the children were first generation learners. So very difficult to keep them in front of their mobile phones. Some of them didn't have it. So I'll just say, so in India, there was good response, though it happened later. The government tied up with NGOs, various NGOs have worked on it. And the thing is that it was realized that the role of teachers and teacher mentors is very important. Partner with parents as enablers in the process. And decentralized decision making empower district and block officials to take localized and responsive decisions on school structures. So you have to decentralize the process. So it's lot of lost learnings has happened. So you have to go back these 2 years. Children have forgotten many things. So you again need to go back 2 years back to teach them what they could not learn. So we need to keep track on the system and see how well the children fare. So human insecurity will cripple millions of lives, resulting in massive increase in unemployment and poverty in the future if this is not handled in a proper way. So this is a report published in December 21 by the World Bank, UNESCO and UNICEF, which says that this generation of students who lost out on this learning process risks losing $17 trillion in lifetime earnings in present value, or about 14% of today's global GDP, as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic-related school closures. So, thank you, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful sharing. We are already running late, so I would request any other speaker from the audience, the last speaker we can say. And if there is nobody, we can continue with our next. There is one prize distribution program. We would like to announce Twinkle Signal, I think, Singhal, I'm so sorry. Twinkle Singhal for the best paper award.
when we were having the Best Paper Award, she was not there. She came down, so now we'll be awarding the... She has come from Meerut for this award. Thank you so much, sir. Now I'll request our colleague, Dr. Prema Lama, to propose the vote of thanks.
Once again, a very good evening to our ladies and gentlemen. The roots of all goodness lies in the soil of appreciation, and at the end of this very enriching day-long session, I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizers of today's seminar and of course my institution, New Alipore College. At the very outset, I thank our distinguished resource persons and valued guests, both online and offline, who despite their busy schedule made some time to grace the occasion and share their interesting insights with us. It was a rare opportunity for us in the audience to hear such enriching and thought-provoking presentations on the various components of human security. I cannot thank IIHSG enough for their willingness to collaborate with us in organizing today's event. Dr. Nandini Basistha, Executive Director and also Senior Assistant Professor, Amity University, Mumbai. Madam, it was an absolute pleasure working with you on this pertinent issue of global security, which affects each and every one of us. Your bird's eye for detail and meticulous planning hugely contributed to today's program's resounding success. Thank you, ma'am. Special mention must be made of Madam Srimati Ganguly, Senior Fellow, IIHSG, Srimati Rita Kumari, Research Assistant, IIHSG, Ananya Bhattacharya, Student, Amity University, Mumbai, Anwesha Shaha, Student, Amity University, Mumbai, Sri Niladri Bhaumik, Program Assistant, IIHSG, for helping us in organizing today's event. A big thank you to our beloved Principal Sir, without whose unstinted support and enthusiasm, we wouldn't dare to organize an event of such a scale. Heartfelt thanks to our IQAC NAC, led by Coordinator Dr. Drupajyoti Banerjee Sir, for chairing the book release session and helping us every step of the way in organizing this event. Thanks to our senior faculty and convener of the Women's Cell NAC, Professor Bulu Mukherjee Madam, Coordinator of Arts Faculty, Dr. Neela Sarkar Madam, Dr. Sumita Swar, and Professor Ishita Ray from the Department of Environmental Studies, Professor Rajdeep Datta from the Department of Bengali, Dr. Aniruddha Kar from the Department of Sanskrit, for extending their support and cooperation in every way possible. Our deepest gratitude to the technical arrangement team for today's seminar, led by Dr. Avijit Paul Sir from the Department of Physics, without whose dedicated support and enthusiasm, such an international seminar using the hybrid mode would have been an impossible feat. Gratitude to our library support team, led by Sumona Madam and Sukanya, for arranging such an interesting display of books for all seminar participants. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight and needs meticulous planning and execution. I cannot thank each member of our organizing team, led by our Principal Sir and Dr. Madhuparna Madam, HOD Department of Political Science, my colleagues Dr. Somdatta Banerjee, Professor Devarati Mandal, Professor Sucharita Bhattacharya, enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of the work beyond their comfort zone. I owe special gratitude to the non-teaching staff, student union, our student volunteers, and our light and sound arrangement team led by Karthik Da, who have worked hard to ensure that this program becomes a memorable success. My heartfelt thanks to the students and teachers of our college, Alipore College, for their presence and keen interest in today's session. Finally, I leave you with this inspiring quote by Martin Luther King. An individual has not started living until he rises above the confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. And I feel these words of Martin Luther King rightly defines our session today. Thank you.
We began with a song and we'll end with that song only. Asad ma sad gamaya tamaso ma jyotir gamaya mrittur mang amritam gamaya shanti shanti om shanti om shanti om Hari Om Tat Sat Shanti Om Shanti Om Hari Om Tat Sat Dekho aloe alo akash Dekho akash taraye bhara Dekho jawar pather pashe Chote hawa পাগল পারা এত আনন্দ আয়োজন সবই বৃথা আমায় ছাড়া ভরে থাকুক আমার মুঠো দুই চোখে থাকুক ধারা এলো সময় রাজার মতো হলো কাজের হিসেব চাওয়া असद मा सद गमया तमसो म ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्युर्मां अमृतं गमया शांति शांति ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत शांति ओम शांति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत शांति ओम शांति ओम हरि ओम तत्सत।